Hello and welcome to Versus, presented by the Rant. Here on Versus, I like to pit two games against each other, and we'll see who comes out on top. Today I have two massive open world games. One set in the Caribbean during the pirate years, and one of them set in a fantasy world. So let's get started with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag versus Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. So let's get started. I'm not going to go over the story. I'm just going to go over a little bit of how both games play before we get started. So, Black Flag is a open world Assassin's Creed game. Has all the Assassin's Creed stuff in it, including stealth killing and running around and viewpoints and all that stuff. But it also added major open world sailing, which is really fun. Shadow of Mordor is an open world adventure game with lots of swordplay as well. But this is more brutal. It's got more of a fighting system in it. And you run around two different maps, Mordor and Mordor that's becoming more green. So let's get right down to it with graphics. My least favorite category, but the one that has to be on here, graphics. So both of these games, Black Flag came out in 2014. Actually, no, Black Flag came out in 2013, and Shadow of Mordor came out in 2014. And Black Flag has pretty good graphics. I enjoy the view and the way things look. I'm not, there's not much I really complain about. The water looks great. Sailing is fun. The weather changes on whim. There's a night and day cycle. It's fun. It's good. It's cool. It looks nice overall. Shadow of Mordor, pretty much the same. It looks good. It has a day and night cycle. Each area is new and refreshing. And they don't. The characters look fine, and it looks like a good game. So between the two, who has the better graphics, though? And I think Assassin's Creed really knocked it out of the park with their physics, with the waves, and how the waves work, and the different areas you can go to, and I love the open world sea. And it just looks better to me. So that's why Black Flag gets a point in the graphics. Next, I have Open World. And Open World for Black Flag, it's huge. You got a huge map of... I know it's mostly water, but there's lots of things to do. There's islands you can find, there's treasure you can find, there's settlements you can find, there's plenty of things to do, including fishing and trying to capture killer whales and sharks, and there's lots you can do, and it's fun, it's great. There's tons of things to destroy in the open world. Shadow of Mordor has two maps, which are, medium size. They're about half the size of Black Flag each. And each area has nice, different terrain, and it's different, world. But there aren't different enemies in each part. Like in the Black Flag, it gets harder in each area, and there's different ships that appear. In Shadow of Mordor, it's all kind of like the same enemies. They just get a little bit tougher, but as long as you're leveling up, you shouldn't have any problem. The open world is nice. There's viewpoints, of course, to sync and fast travel and stuff like that. But I just feel like I really like Black Flag's open world much better than Shadow of Mordor, which is why Black Flag gets another point. Next, I have story. And this is a tough one because Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I don't know what they were thinking with this one, because they put in this first person walk around the office kind of thing to it, which was dumb. And the story just was not good at all. It started off kind of okay, and then it just started to become more of that Assassin's Creed bullshit where they're looking for the relic, and it's more about that and not about pirating, which I really wanted it to be. So yeah, you can go around and just sail on your ship and free roam for the rest of your life. You don't have to do the story all the way through, I should say. But it's the story's there, and the story is just not good at all. I could not get on board with it. mainly because it was just so stupid. It was you it was a little bit cool at the end where they had, the guy who you met in the Animus who was Captain Bart or whatever, Black Bart. And he's the guy who kind of keeps coming back in a different life, and he finds you and then they shoot him and that's it. And you're like, "Okay, cool." As for Shadow of Mordor, the story's pretty good all the way through until the end. It has a really nice story to it. It starts off, you learn about the guy you're controlling and his family. Through the training stuff, you learn, his son and his wife, and how they get slaughtered, and how the elf who also had his family slaughtered is now bound to you. So you go around killing orcs and doing things for the people who are trying to resist against Mordor's influence of darkness. And it's good all the way up until the end though. And I'd rather have good all the way up to the end and instead of bad all the way through until like a kind of cool part at the end. So that's why story is Shadow of Mordor. Category number 4 is enemies, and this is like variation of enemies and blah blah blah. Black Flag has a multitude of ships and enemies to take down. So you start off, there's like just sea beggars around. They have like single cannons on them. Can't really do much damage to you. Sink in like a few hits. You can't board them. And then there's also like the Jolly Rogers, who are kind of like your ship, where you can board them after you damage them enough. They can hurt you. They can fire broadside cannons and stuff like that. And they're tougher. And then you get the Man of War, which is the huge ship. It's like it's a floating fortress pretty much, and you have to be very strategic when taking them down. There's also, if you get enough notoriety in this game, pirate hunters will come around, which are stronger versions of the Jolly Rogers, and they also send out other ships as well. As for enemies to fight, it's mostly like British troops and Spanish troops. A few pirate missions where you actually have to kill pirates, but most of it's just soldiers that you kill. And also there's the hunting aspect. You can hunt in the game and make things. You can wrestle alligators and crocodiles if you want to. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of there's a few different enemy classes within the the ranks of the soldiers and the pirates. There's like the big fat guys. There's the skinny guys. There's guys with just daggers. There's the captains who have double swords, and there's like one other class, the riflemen, who always are on top and being assholes. All in all, satisfying. Good amount of difference in the enemies. Shadow of Mordor. There's wargs that run around. There's trolls that walk around every once in a while, and there's like these goblins that come out of the ground. And then there's like 3 different classes of orcs, and there's like the big fat ones. There's tall and muscular, and then there's like the kind of half goblin, half orc kind of guys who are kind of small and shriveled. And then there's of course the captains and the leaders, which is a cool setup to have. Each orc faction has its own captain, and you can go on missions and kill the captain, and then someone will take their place eventually, and you can get all the way up in the ranks to the leaders of the the 4 biggest leaders. And they are always the hardest. They have people following them, a lot of people following them. It's fun to kind of go through and take them out. And the cool thing is, if you die by just a random orc in the game, they'll become a captain, they'll get a name, they'll get a voice, and you'll be able to fight them later, when you respawn, and you can fight them and kill them, or let them keep leveling up. There's also branding in the game. You can brand an orc, and he'll become your ally, and they can influence the others in the group. So it's cool. Between the 2 of them, I'd have to give this one the Black Flag, because I love the Shadow of Mordor hierarchy of orcs, but Black Flag, I think they have just more variation in the enemies, and most of the time in Shadow of Mordor, I don't even go after the wargs or trolls. I just stick with the orcs, and it does get a little boring after a while. So that's why Black Flag gets a point. Next is gameplay. And in Black Flag, it's the same old Assassin's Creed stuff. Some of the parkour and free running works. Most of it does not. If you're trying to run up a building and you need to go to the side a little bit, or if you're running along on a plank and you need to, take a turn, he'll try and climb up the wall. It's it's that basic stuff that they could fix, but they're just kind of overlooking for right now. And that does put a hamper on my gameplay. And the rest of it's kind of is good. The control of the ship and everything's great. It feels nice. Aiming and shooting weapons is very flowing. But it's just that free running though in this game. They took it from Assassin's Creed 3, which is pretty bad, and they made this one. It's like it's better, but it's still not up to the standards that were in the other games. So, and then Shadow of Mordor has kind of like this free run thing, but it's kind of like a cross between Assassin's Creed and another game called what's it called? Shadow something Shadow. It was a game that came out in 2014. Also, it was what was it? I don't remember what it's called, but it started Goblin. Oh my goodness! And he was stealing things. I forget what it was called though. Master of Shadows. That's what it's, or Styx Master of Shadows. So it it has very nice climbing and sneaking. I forgot to mention in Black Flag you can't crouch. In this game you can crouch and run at the same time, so you can crouch run. It's cool. It's fun to do. It's nice to do because you can get around an enemy camp pretty easily and pretty fast. There are upgrades you can do while you're running. If you jump over something, you can get a speed boost. And most of the gameplay is pretty flowing, I would say. So that's why Shadow Mordor gets a point in the gameplay section. Category number 6 is fighting style. And that's big in these two games. And Black Flag takes the card from, Assassin's Creed 1 through 3, including all the Ezio stuff. And it's, it's very basic. There's block, there's attack, there's heavy attack, and then there's like break defense. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, you do have a few weapons you can choose from. They don't really offer much in like variation. And it's all pretty basic. This game has to be the easiest Assassin's Creed ever. Besides from Assassin's Creed 3, in the fighting realm, it's so freaking easy. All you have to do is block and hit, block and hit, and you'll usually get insta kills once you're leveled up enough. And it's like, okay, I'm God mode right now, but at what cost? As for Shadow of Mordor, the fighting style mimics Batman, Arkham Asylum, and Arkham Knight, or more like Arkham City. And I like that better. You can choose your targets. You can block at opportune moments. Starting a finisher on an enemy doesn't guarantee that the other ones won't hit you. So while you're finishing the other guy off, the other one will try and hit you, and you can block in between your finisher, and hopefully you'll block it. And that goes the same for doing like a ground kill where you're the guy is bent over, hurt, and you can hit him on the ground. Another guy can still attack you while you're finishing that guy off. And the bow and arrow is very good in this game. It kind of comes out of nowhere, but once you charge it all the way, fire it, it's great. You can aim it at fire and it blows up everything in the vicinity. You can aim it at a wasp nest and it will attack enemies around you. The wasp will come out and kill them. It's cool. It's fun. The gameplay feels very refreshed in that game. So that's why in fighting style, Shadow of Mordor gets into the point. So as we stand, Black Flag has 3 points, and so does Shadow of Mordor. And that brings it all down to overall satisfaction. Which game am I most satisfied about? Well, Black Flag does have the better open world, and does have the better graphics and the better enemies, but Shadow of Mordor really has, it has the story all the way up to the end. It has better gameplay. It has a better fighting style. I love the hierarchy of orcs, and even though it has a smaller open world, the two maps are they're varied, and they have nice different things that happen. Even though the enemies stay the same, I wish that they had put some Uruk-hai in there or something, or Easterlings, something like that, but they decided not to. And that's why looking at Black Flag, I'm like, Black Flag has good graphics, has good open world, has good enemies, but the story lacks in that game so much, and the gameplay is just the same as Assassin's Creed 3, except with more ship stuff, which I love. I love the ship stuff, and the fighting is the same as Assassin's Creed 3, and it's very basic. So overall, I think I'm more satisfied with Shadow of Mordor. Why? because, like I was saying, the story's good. It makes me want to keep playing it. The hierarchy of orcs is awesome. It's fun to do. Each orc has its own unique style to them. Gameplay's fun. Fighting style is refreshing, and I'm just overall more satisfied with Shadow of Mordor than Black Flag. That being said, both Black Flag and Shadow of Mordor got Games of the Year from me, one for 2013 and 2014, and we'll see what gets it this year. If you want to check out my channel, it's Jarsh's Opinion. I have gameplay reviews, or video game reviews. I have my own podcast on there, Jarshcast. I do gameplay. I do plenty of things on there. If you want to, you can check out this channel, The Rant. You can subscribe if you want to. We have plenty of things. We have podcasts that we do every 2 weeks. We have this Versus series that I host, and then Robert, the other person I do this channel with, does 5-minute reviews. They're quick, they're short, they have a lot of information, and they have good gameplay. What more could you want? So, Shadow of Mordor wins this round, but I do have to hand it to Black Flag for having great ship battles and great open world. If you like this video, leave a like. If you like the channel, subscribe. And if you don't like this video, leave a dislike. And I will compare you to Shrek getting his ass rammed by Donkey.